Okay, team, let's do this. Let's talk about routines. Do you think that having a routine takes away from your freedom and your creativity? I cannot tell you how many of my clients say this exact same thing. I don't want to have a routine. That's going to ruin my creativity. I like flexibility. I like freedom. I want the ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it. There's a problem with this. And the problem is this, it's a myth. Because what really happens is when we put routines in place, we actually gain freedom and flexibility and creativity. It's like the antithesis of anything you could have ever imagined. So, how does this work exactly? All right, if you've got ADHD, your ADHD brain is doing 7 million things. It's really struggling, right? I call it having 50 tabs open at any given time in our brains, right? And if we have a routine, if we've set something up specifically, ideally in your calendar that has that set routine, you can free up space in your brain and you can free up your time. So, how does this work? When you're building habits and you're creating routines, if you know what the checklist is of the things you've got to do in any given morning, and you just have that ready to go, and you don't have to retain it up here in your brain because it's already in, say, the self-care portion of your calendar, you gain freedom because you have the freedom now to think about other things, to concentrate on other things, to not have to worry about, did I remember to put my backpack, briefcase, paperwork, whatever by the door to get out? Because you've got that routine, you've got that structure, you've got that system set in place. So it does free up your time and it frees up space in your brain to not have to be thinking about that anymore. I know that sounds like so weird because we want that creativity, we want that ability. And by the way, a lot of ADHDers have this. We have like this day of super duper hyper focus. We're working like crazy. We've put all our energy in, and the next day we collapse. What I find is I've got a kind of schedule for that and plan for that. So, like, I'm doing this big Google Calendar workshop on Wednesday, a week from today, and I'm doing a major marketing push. Lots of live videos, lots of personalized emails out to past workshop participants asking them, hey, you love my Google email workshop. Do you want to join in on the Google Calendar workshop and take your productivity to the next level? So that is taking a lot of time and a lot of energy. I will say that I took most of the weekend off. So I have lots of energy right now. Now, I don't know if you remember, I had COVID a couple weeks ago. So I am actually a little behind on all of the marketing, but not terribly so. And I will say that the content and things were already ready. If you've been sticking around for a while, you know this was a workshop I was supposed to hold in July, but we had a death in the family, and I just had not gotten in a place where I was ready to do a workshop in July. Even though I'd done one in June, I just was too much and I couldn't do it. And so I just shut down on it and decided to do it next Wednesday, September 11th. So what are you going to get? Let's go back to the point. What are you going to get when you have routines in place and they're in your Google Calendar and you're good to go? And by the way, if you don't use Google Calendar, in whatever calendar you have, but I'm talking about Google Calendar because that's specifically what the workshop is going to be about. Which reminds me that I should put up the little banner. I always forget to put the banner up so that you know how to sign up for the workshop. So what you're going to get if you have an organized calendar system with routines and you know how to do the routines is you're going to have better productivity, right? Because you're going to be able to put that brain power that you were using to remember all those things you were supposed to do in sort of your morning routine into your actual work and the things you're doing. You're going to have less stress, right? If you know where your keys are, where your wallet is, where your cell phone is, and you're good to go in the morning, you no longer have stress about that, which is freaking fantastic. I'm practically glued to my phone. I have it with me all the time. I know it's right over here. I think it's on vibrate, so it doesn't bother this. But who knows? If you hear a ding, then you'll know that I forgot to turn it on vibrate. You'll have increased focus because you'll be able to stop using your brain power and remembering all these rinky dinky things and putting it towards where you need your focus. So one of the things people talk about, they talk about spoons, how many spoons you have in your energy. I'm not a big fan of that analogy because I just don't like, how do I know how many spoons in a day? God bless the people who can figure out the spoon thing. For me, what I look at is like gas in a fuel tank. All right. When your gas tank is full in your car, you're not worrying at all about where you're going or what you're doing or anything else, right? You've got a full tank. You've got your full tank of energy. So we could wake up in the morning and God willing, we've gotten a good night's sleep, right? Because I talk about sense all the time, sleep, um, exercise, nutrition, systems, environment. And I primarily focus on systems and environment. But, let's assume you've had a good sleep, you've had a good breakfast, maybe you've gotten some exercise in. There are some best times of day for exercise, and everybody's different. I tend to like to exercise in the late afternoon. I feel like it's a nice break before I go into my day. So assuming you had all those things, you've had a good night's sleep and you're ready to go in the morning, you've got good energy, you've got a full tank, right? You're immediately using up tank in your morning routine. So the less tank you can use, the more you have left for the rest of your day, right? A lot of us get home from work at the end of the day and we have just depleted the tank. Our energy reserves are gone, right? That can be the case for me, which is why I mentioned that I do exercise in the afternoon, because exercising, walking with my neighbor, walking with her dog, refuels my engine, right? It refuels my tank. I put gas back in, energy back into the tank. I know that sounds like the antithesis because exercise takes energy, but it actually like pumps me up. And the reason for that is that exercise gives us a boost of dopamine and endorphins. And, like we're dopamine hunters when we're ADHDers. We constantly need the next hit of dopamine. So this walk gives me that, which is great. And then I have enough spoons or energy in the tank to get through the rest of the day. By about 10 o'clock, I'm done. Okay. I know lots of people who can do all kinds of stuff after 10 p.m. I am not one of them. If you talk to my husband, he will tell you, if he wants to talk to me about something financial, it damn well better happen before 8 p.m. Because after 8 p.m., my brain is done braining. Honestly, it's 3:42 p.m. I'm already on a downward slope here. So I'm really impressed that I'm actually like talking about this with some focus. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to have increased focus because you've got these routines in place that you no longer need to remember them. All right. Where can you put your routines? You can put them in Google Calendar if you haven't already. So one of the routines I have as a separate calendar is self-care. And as some of you know, because I started to talk about it yesterday, I am going to be walking in a half marathon in December. And so in my self-care routine, I had to map out in that calendar. I had to map out and actually have to work backwards. By the way, great technique, bonus tip. If you have a project or a goal you want to accomplish, start from the end. What's the goal? For me, it's 13.1 miles, right? So the week, I didn't even know this till I started studying it. The week before, I only do a 5-mile walk as my long walk. It's actually 2 weeks before that you do the 13-mile walk. And then the week before that, you do 5-mile walk. The week before that, you do a 12-mile walk, etc. So I had to map this all out backwards because it ends up, I'm starting a little late in the training, which means I'm really on like week 4 or 5 right now. And I'm just starting. Today's my rest day, which is awesome because I am actually going to rest today, having done some really intense walking over the long weekend to kind of power up. So I was taking my walks from 1.5 miles to pretty much 3.5 miles in 3 days because I don't know if I've got to do a 4-mile walk on Saturday or a 5-mile walk. I'm kind of anticipating a 5-mile walk. So tomorrow the plan will be to walk at least 3 miles. And I've really got to ramp up, right? Okay, so I'm starting not at ground zero at like 1-mile walk. I'm starting at 5. Why did I bring this up? Because that's all in my calendar, those routines, that system of how I'm going to get from couch kind of to 13.1 mile half marathon. There's another piece of it that I haven't figured out yet, which is sort of like the weightlifting piece. There's a toning weightlifting piece I've got to do, but I belong to Beachbody Online and I'll figure that out. Not a big deal. But the point is the basic calendar is laid out. It's in there in the self-care routine. I can add to it And that is right in my Google Calendar. The beauty of Google Calendar is you can turn on and off different calendars. So you can have a super cluttered, all over the top, color coded everything calendar, or you can turn sections of it on and off so you don't see them everywhere. Okay, so that is your strategy for today, is to think about your routines and realize that it is a myth that you have less creativity, freedom, and flexibility if you have routines. Routines actually help free you up so that you can. Routines are like so super important for people with ADHD. So if you have ADHD and you're either using Google Calendar or you don't have a calendar at all, you need to join the Google Calendar workshop. This is specifically to Google Calendar. I made a big mistake last month, in June rather, and I ran a workshop on email, and I focused in on Google Mail, and then I ended up redoing the whole workshop for Outlook and for Apple Mail. It was a huge, intense weekend after hosting a workshop. I do not want to do that again because I have scheduled the day after this workshop a day off to do pretty much nothing. Because remember, I started at the beginning talking about how we get hyper focused. We put a lot of energy in and then we collapse. I'm going to need a collapse day on that Thursday. I think I have a client meeting and I'm going to run my productivity power hour, which is my accountability group for my clients. So there is no way I want to have to redo this workshop. So this workshop is for Google Calendar. You may come if you want to learn about Google Calendar. You don't have a calendar and you're going to use Google Calendar as your calendaring method. You can come if you just started using Google Calendar and you have a whole lot to learn. You can come to Google Calendar if, like me, you've been using Google Calendar for years, but I'm betting you dollars to donuts there are going to be strategies that I'm going to teach because I'm literally doing a how-to, step-by-step process. Like we have a workbook. The goddess that is my business manager, CJ, has created an entire, absolutely beautiful workbook. And you can ask anybody who is in those email workshops where, did I mention when I did the 3 separate presentations for the 3 separate emails? I also did 3 separate workbooks, mostly because God bless CJ, she created them and made that all happen. Our workbooks are amazing. They're worth the price of admission alone just for the workbook. The workshop costs $37. It is being held Wednesday, September 11th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. For those of you who might be balking and saying that is an important day, particularly in the U.S., of honoring and mourning and respecting. I lost 18 people on 9/11. I get it. It was very hard for me. That day is hard for me. Unfortunately, based on my schedule, that is the best day that I could do it. And I wanted to make sure that I did 11 a.m. so that I could pick up 8 a.m. California and then 6 hours, 5 p.m. in Europe, so that it's really around the workday. The majority of my clients are in that sort of European to West Coast zone. So bit.ly/GCal workshop. Would love to see you there, specifically for Google Calendar. I do have one person who plans on attending who is an Apple Mail user. She also uses Google Calendar. So please don't come unless you have Google Calendar, because I cannot redo everything for everybody again. I did it the one time. I won't be doing it again. So Google Calendar Workshop. That's why it's called GCal Workshop. September 11th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at your routines. Do you have any? Do you even know what they are? And I don't mean that meanly, but a lot of us, we have routines. We don't even know we have them. So it's great to step back and take a look and say, hey, is this routine working for me? And then I'm going to show you exactly how you can put one of these routines or more into your Google Calendar next week on Wednesday, September 11th. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see you there.